In today's Leeds news, every position matters. Doekhi deep dive. This weekend's loan watch leads to accept Ramazani offer. Okafor proving value for money, and the sliding door moment. Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds View for Monday, the 4th of May, with your Leeds United news. Hope you had a really good weekend. Made a huge amount sweeter by the fact that Leeds United got a win, and we moved one more step closer to safety. And the big one coming in this week that everyone is talking about, and some people have asked about as well, is what will Leeds do against Tottenham Hotspur. And the joy of the weekend ahead of us is it doesn't really matter at this point. If West Ham United fail to beat Arsenal at the weekend, Leeds United are safe. It's done. It's dusted. They'll be 7 points behind Leeds with 6 points to play for in the last two matches. So Leeds will be safe and sound in the Premier League for next season. So we might not have to worry about the Tottenham Hotspur game at all. But there is some news today to talk about why that game matters, as well as the remaining two games after that as well, and could be important for Leeds United heading into the summer. If you want to get involved in our Finalysis player ratings that we'll cover tonight on the podcast, you can do so by downloading the Finalysis app with the link down below, or the little QR code in the bottom right hand corner. The final Finalysis results are not quite in yet for the players, so if you want to get involved in that this morning, you can, and we'll cover them tonight on the podcast. We're talking about the match. Right, let's start off today and talk about why finishing in positions higher matters for Leeds United, specifically coming into this summer. As we know, coming into next season, the PSR model will be scrapped and will be replaced by a brand new one called SCR, or the squad cost ratio model, and that comes into effect once the season finishes. And what that new model will mean is that Leeds United can spend 85% of the club's revenue on player wages, transfers, on-field matters, as well as manager contracts included. So what that means, though, is that in the short term, Leeds United might be slightly worse off than they are under the current PSR model, but there are things that they can do in order to try and alleviate that pressure. Leeds did vote against the SCR model along with 5 other clubs. At that moment, Leeds wanted to put some amendments into it, but they didn't get the majority they needed to vote it down at that moment on time. So it does mean it'll be a little bit stickier for Leeds in the short term. However, Leeds moving up to 14th place over the course of the weekend is a big deal for lots of reasons. Not just because it moves us away from the relegation zone, but it means potentially more money coming in for the club. And if Leeds can hit that 50-point mark and finish even in 13th place this season, I know we're going from talking about relegation to talking about finishing 13th, but if they can, it would go a huge way towards alleviating that maybe tighter financial pressure heading into the summer. Leeds have picked up £1.5 million from the FA Cup run again to the semi-final, and each position they finish higher in the Premier League equates to roughly in and around £3 million of additional revenue. Now, Isaac Johnson in Leeds Live has had a deeper look at this today, and a really interesting piece over there that you can check out, and basically highlights the fact that if Leeds can finish in 13th, then that means £6 million more in prize money than it does if they finished in 15th. That's how it works, £3 million per position. He also points out that that scenario, plus Leeds United's FA Cup run, means that Leeds are bringing in about £7.5 million extra coming into the summer. And that can go a long way towards levelling the scales versus SCR, and probably equates to a fringe player sale for the club at that point. Now, player sales, again, on top of that, will be really, really important coming into the summer. Leeds have not done a good enough job of being able to get rid of players that have been on the fringes of the squad, at least not for a proper amount of money. So that's going to be hugely important. Leeds loanees are the first set of players that are the likely ones to go, along with potentially even Joe Piru. And that will be huge to make sure they can elevate the bottom of the squad, but also spend their money wiser into the summer months. Leeds' summer transfer budget coming into this summer is rumoured to be in and around that £100 million mark that we had last summer. So that's a positive. But every single spot that they can get above that will help the club even more. Stuart Dallas was on Sky Sports over the course of the weekend, and he was talking about when Leeds finished 9th in the Premier League under Marcelo Bielsa, and Leeds didn't really capitalise that summer on adding to the squad properly. And he said that that's going to be an important factor for Leeds to try and capitalise on this season and push forward into next year. But it is an important summer coming up, and there's going to be a lot of focus on the ins and the outs to get that squad right heading into next season. We'll move on for now. One of those players that Leeds are potentially looking at is Danilo Doekhi. He's been rumoured to be a player Leeds have been interested in since early January, and he's continued to be linked with the club heading into this summer. Amy Wilson in Leeds Live has had a bit of a deeper dive into who Danilo Doekhi is, what he can add to the side, and Leeds links to the player as well. Leeds are said, according to reports in Germany, to face real competition if they do want to sign Danilo Doekhi this summer. Borussia Dortmund are said to be interested in him. The PIF clubs in Saudi Arabia are all said to be interested, along with Eintracht Frankfurt as well. So he has been described as a perfect fit for the Premier League by a journalist who knows him quite well, Matthias Koch. He covers him at Union Berlin in the Bundesliga. His next move is said to be a really important move in his career as he approaches the peak years of his career. If he wants to come to the Premier League, then he will stretch himself, challenge himself a little bit more. If he stays in the Bundesliga, he's staying in a league that he knows very, very well and has been very effective in. So far more comfortable move for him. But speaking to Leeds Live about the Berlin defender, Matthias Koch had the following to say. Union is a haven for footballers like Danilo Doekhi. I somehow never gave up hope that he would stay, but now that he is in talk for his next financial step, the Premier League plays better. Although Union have struggled in general, Doekhi has been a regular starter in the back three, and Union aren't yet safe from relegation, but without him, I suspect they would have been in a lot more trouble. It's interesting that back three as well, Doekhi would fit in there. There's a lot of talk about Pascal Struijk's future. Now, they're not a like-for-like replacement. Doekhi's more of a right-hand-sided centre-back. Maybe it's a Sebastian Barnell move there. Maybe Leeds can look at maybe moving Joe Road onto the centre, Yacobiol to the left, something like that. But it will be interesting to see what they decide to do. Leeds Live also state in this report that they understand that Leeds United's priority targets heading into this summer are a goalkeeper, a centre-back, a left-back, an attacking midfielder, and a striker. And if you look at all the players that we've been linked with and tracking over the last couple of months, kind of lines up with exactly that as well. But from a personal perspective, Doekhi ticks a lot of what Leeds' normal recruitment boxes have been over the last 2 summers. He's a free transfer. He's over 6 foot in height. He's 27 years of age. He is very, very good in the air. He's physically very strong, and he's a threat from set pieces. And Koch has said that he's a very reliable defender in that back three model and never gets injured. It's another huge plus for Leeds if they can get him in. And he's very dangerous from set pieces. So if Leeds can get him in, he's got 7 goals this season for Union Berlin from set plays. So if Leeds can bring him in for nothing, it'll be a very smart bit of business. If Borussia Dortmund are having a sniff around them as well, that tells you there is a level of quality in there of a player who can push on in his career as well. So could be a smart move for Leeds to try and get in for little to nothing. And again, if they go back and do what they did last summer, the likes of Lucas Mechen, the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and do a little bit of smart business with a few freebies, they can free up a lot more money to spend on key positions heading into the summer. Let's move on to one of the last loan watches of the season. We'll start off with Valencia Ramazani, who started and played 73 minutes for Valencia in their 2-0 home loss to Atletico Madrid. Valencia now 12th in La Liga with 4 games left to go. Max Faber was an unused sub in Werder Bremen's 3-1 home loss to Augsburg. Isaac Schmidt also an unused sub against Augsburg. Bremen are now 15th place in the Bundesliga, 6 points above relegation zone with 2 games to play. And they look safe at this point. Harry Gray started and played 90 minutes and got his first senior assist in Rotherham's 3-2 away loss to Wycombe. Rotherham have been relegated to League 2 now, but Harry Gray's loan there has had 20 games, 3 goals and 1 assist. Joe Gelhardt started and played 60 minutes for Hull, who beat Norwich 2-1. They go into the playoffs and will play against Millwall next. Roy Mahadi, unused sub for Scunthorpe in their 2-1 away loss to Rochdale. Scunthorpe are in the qualifying playoff spots in the National League. Alex Baird, clean sheet for Bridlington's final game, which was an 8-0 win over Bridgehouse. He also picked up their Player of the Month award. Kenneth Mensah season is over now. He's in the qualifying playoff spots in the National League North. Darrell Lombang also season over and is also in the playoff spots in the Northern Premier League. And Jack Harrison plays tonight for Fiorentina, but he did start and play 66 minutes in their midweek game against Sassuolo, which finished 0-0. Fiorentina are currently 9 points away from the relegation zone with 4 games left. A win tonight could very much make them safe at this point. We'll move on. Quick update on the Largi Ramazani situation. According to Team Talk, Leeds United will accept an offer from Valencia of £10 million in order to recoup their initial investment on Largi Ramazani and try and avoid the mistakes they've made in the past by holding out for more money on a player and ultimately not getting a chance to sell them. Ilan Meslier being the prime example of that, who leaves the club on a free transfer this summer. But according to this report, Leeds United don't have any plans to reintegrate Largi Ramazani into the squad next season. There isn't a position for him. Leeds are expected to continue playing with the current system that they've got, which is without natural wingers. So it doesn't appear there will be a space within the squad for Ramazani. The report also states that Ramazani is one of potentially 6 attackers who could leave the clubs this summer, alongside the likes of Jack Harrison, Joe Gelhardt and Joe Piru, also including Leeds United won't be pursuing Facundo Buenanote. There's still question marks around what the situation will be without Tanaka as well. So at the moment, it looks like Largy could move on early in the summer window. Leeds will try and get some of their business done as early as they can because it's the World Cup summer and there's that big block in the middle where nothing is going to get done. So they might try and get some money in nice and early to push forward. I like Valencia Ramazani. I really enjoyed him when he played for Leeds. He's my kind of player. He's a very attack-focused player, forward-thinking player. But if he's not going to be part of the Leeds United squad, it is smart business to try and recoup as much money as they can and reinvest that into somebody who will be pushing for a starting 11 position in the squad next summer. Let's move on. I know Okafor and his impact this season, and when he signed for Leeds United in the summer and his first couple of games, he did get a bit of criticism from a small section of the Leeds United fan base, but it is probably fair to say he didn't exactly hit the ground running, and he did take a little bit of time to adjust to life in the Premier League. And maybe that's something we all need to learn coming into this summer, is to give these players more time to settle in, specifically the ones coming in from leagues outside of the UK, because when he has settled in, he's had a hell of an impact for Leeds United this season. Okafor has been incredible since the turn of the year for Leeds United and vital for Leeds United in the last 2 months at a pivotal time in the Premier League season. Gabby Goodmunson spoke about this last month, and he said then that it was really important that Leeds United keep Okafor fit, healthy and on the pitch in order to achieve the club's goals. And that's proven to be the case. He's got 6 goals in his last 7 games for Leeds. He's now scored more goals in a single season than any Swiss player in Premier League. And on top of that, since the start of February, Okafor has the second best minutes per goal ratio across all of Europe's big 5 leagues. He's averaging 1 goal every 68 minutes, and that's only bettered by Harry Kane at Bayern Munich, who's averaging 1 every 49 minutes. So not bad company to be around. That stat comes from Johnny Cooper as well, so thanks to Johnny for that. Now, he, as I say, it's been a very important part of the season for Leeds United. He's been pivotal in that, and he's helped Leeds get to that 43-point mark. And after this amount of games in the season, no Premier League team has been relegated on 43 points. There's always that caveat there, but it should be enough to keep Leeds safe in the Premier League for another year. His impact this season has been huge for Leeds once he got going. It's a really strong place for him to build on heading into next summer, and the same for Leeds. We'll see what happens in the summer with the World Cup. But the Leeds medical team and Daniel Farke have managed his minutes incredibly well this year. That has led to him being on the pitch at important points for Leeds this season. So strong season from him, his best in a long time, and a good place to build on going into the summer. We move on to talk about a point that's probably worth talking about at this point of the season, and that's the sliding door moment of the year. Leeds' form in the second half of this season has been fantastic, but it's interesting to take a bigger look and a step back and look at the entire season and what led us to get to this point. Stuart Dallas has been on Sky Sports talking about this as well, and it is worth diving into a little bit at this moment in time. When Leeds started the season, Leeds picked up just 2 wins in their opening 8 games, and in the first 14 matches in the league campaign, Leeds won just 3 times and lost 8 of those 13 games. And to put that into context, Leeds have lost 12 times overall so far this season. What that means is that Leeds' total defeats for this year, 67% of them came in that first 14 game period. Now that brought us up to half time in the Manchester City game when Daniel Farke decided to move away from his preferred 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 formation and adopt a 3 at the back base formation that would put us in pretty good stead moving forward. Stuart Dallas on Sky Sports talked about this, and he said that it was an important part of Leeds' season when they decided to play to the strengths and abilities of the players that they'd brought in, to be more physical, to be more direct, and to be more forward thinking, and to make the backline a little bit more sturdy. And it has been massively keen. Now, whether you believe Daniel Farke made that decision on his own, whether he fell on it, whether he was forced into doing it with what he had available to him at that time, ultimately, it doesn't really matter. The fact that he did change and stuck with that change has shown growth and adaptability from the manager. Now, Daniel Farke has dipped back in to the 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3 during matches over the course of this year, but that adds to their unpredictability. But he has changed the base formation versus what he normally likes to do. And a lot of managers wouldn't have done that. A lot of managers would have stuck to their footballing principles and said, this is the way I play. We're going to keep doing it until we get it right. Farke didn't. He made that change. And what it's done is not just turn the season around, but give Leeds a very solid basis going in for next season. Since the 29th of November, Leeds have lost just 4 times. And if the league had started after the Manchester City game, Leeds would be sitting 6th in the Premier League based on the results of all the sides in the league since then. So it's been huge. It's massively important. And it is a very strong building block to move into the summer with, and Leeds have to identify that, recognise that as something, and not slip back into old ways. If they want to move forward with this, it's been a massive decision by the manager. It's been a positive decision by the manager. He deserves a huge amount of credit for making that decision and sticking with it throughout the season. And he can adapt the system all he wants during games. There's no problem with that. It's a good idea. But keeping that base formation the way it is, and then trying to add players specifically this summer that fit to that, could put Leeds in a very strong position. But when you look at that league table from the Manchester City game, Leeds 6th in the form guide since then. It's hugely important. And if we can go into next season with this, maybe we start the season in a far better way than we did this year. And we can all be a bit more relaxed and be more forward thinking and see where Leeds can go heading into next year in the Premier League. So yeah, it's an important moment of the season. It will be that one sliding door moment that is talked about. Stuart Dallas has talked about it as well. Not the only one. Plenty have spoken about it this year, and it has been identified as a key moment. And Daniel Farke will never say that was the key moment of the season, but it was. That'll be it for me today, folks. Massive thank you, as always, for joining us on today's news. Back tonight with the podcast, myself, Paul and Jerry, to have a little bit of a look back at the weekend's action, look ahead to next week, and a little bit of chat about some very impressive statistics that have popped up over the last couple of days of what has been a very strong second half of the season for Leeds United. And we're all moving into that more relaxing point of the season now where we can get ready to enjoy the running a bit more. Fingers crossed Arsenal beat West Ham at the weekend and we can enjoy the game away at Spurs. Folks, that'll be it for me. Thanks for joining me as always. I'll talk to you soon. See you later.